Bringing the truth to America. This is TruthNet Radio.
Revolution Radio Live right here on the TruthNet Radio Network. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Truthourlies.org is my website. RevolutionRadioLive.com is my other website. TruthNetRadio.com is the network website. Most of the time, they don't even give us two sides.
Yeah, exactly. But when I was on 9/11, I was actually in the simulator training a class of new pilots. Normally, what we do is we'll train the pilots with one instructor, and then I'll turn them over to another instructor to finish up their training, and then I come back and give them their check ride. You never want the same pilot that trains. The same check airman that trains the pilot to give the check ride and basically their test. And so we're in the middle of giving these guys their last sim period before I'm going to pass them on to another instructor. And we come out for a break, and 9/11 is happening.
Exactly.
Planes had hit the tower, and somebody in the break room had a TV, and we kind of watched it in awe. And so later, something just, of course, we were all very, like everybody else, just horrified and upset and everything else that the country could be attacked like this. And so, of course, this was in Phoenix, and of course they closed the airport right away, so I wasn't going anywhere. And
right.
So we decided to go back into the simulator the next day. And after their sim training period, I said, hey, guys, let's try something. Let's see if we can hit these buildings like we saw happen.
Yeah.
And this was in a 737, and, a smaller, a lot more maneuverable airplane. And so I set it up for these pilots. And, keep in mind these pilots are, have many years of experience. And I set up New York, and they all just took turns trying to hit the buildings, and they couldn't do it unless they slowed down to almost landing speeds.
Wow,
then they could do it.
I didn't know that. Tell me about that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and they could not hit those buildings. At the high speeds, they couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, I guess they were getting into all kinds of Dutch roll and everything then, right?
Well, that's right. That's exactly what was happening.
Things to remember about the Dutch roll. Firstly, there is a damping ratio, which is how quickly the motion dies down. There's a frequency, which is the speed of the motion itself. And there's the roll-to-yaw ratio, which is a measure of how much roll, how much bank angle to how much side slip. And those are the three aspects that you have to assess. And they're all important in their own way.
There were Dutch roll problems. People don't realize that to hand fly an airliner at those speeds is extremely difficult. It's very hard to hand fly an airplane at those speeds, and particularly if you're a novice, because a novice that's learned and all of their experience is on little airplanes, they over control everything. But you got to understand, going 300 knots in an airliner, and you move the controls like like you would expect to do in a little airplane.
Right.
Well, I mean, you couldn't stand the G-forces. Everything has to be just fingertip control. So basically, out of the 10 times each guy did it, nobody could do it. I finally was able to do it on probably the last time. I jumped up there and tried it, and but I'm telling you that kind of opened our eyes, and I said, something is not right.
The other thing that comes to mind at those speeds, these aircraft are flying 100, 150 knots over VMO, and you get into what's called aileron reversal, roll reversal at those speeds because of adverse yaw and all kinds of other things.
Right.
But not to mention control surface flutter. I mean, I don't know if that's built into the sim, Dan. Was that built into the sim?
It is. It's built into the sim. These sims,
was it starting to come apart?
These sims actually have crash logic where they check they check G forces and everything else.
Right.
The simulators, for the public out there, the simulators are so good that I could take a pilot that has never been in a 737. I could train him all the way through, and the first time he ever steps foot in the real aircraft is with a plane load full of paying passengers.
That's right.
And that's how good that those simulators
are.
are.
That's called the Level D simulator, and as a matter of fact, I train in them as well. And thinking back to the Dornier when I was training in that, we pushed the envelope on that thing, and I remember it used to just go red when we...
Yeah, that's what happens. It freezes up, and it's a crash logic, and it has to be reset.
Right.
And, we were finding that all the time. Even these airline pilots that have, thousands and thousands of hours of experience had a hard time controlling an airplane at those speeds. So,
I'll tell you, even when I was making the film, okay, and I was doing all those different maneuvers to set it up to hit the Pentagon, how you see all coming in from the top, coming in from the side, coming in from the other side, going into where Rummy was sitting on the other side of the building, and then I tried to line it up exactly how the official story states. It took me about 5 or 6 tries, even in Microsoft Flight Simulator, to get it down just right. So.
Well, going back to the simulator, I mean, Rob, you were telling me this on the phone a few weeks ago, about a month ago actually, that, how possible is it to pull off, even in a professional simulator, how possible is it to pull off the maneuver that Hani Hanjour apparently pulled off with Flight 77 to crash it into the Pentagon?
Well, see, this is where the misconception comes in, and it's kind of based on outdated information. A lot of people say that it was just an impossible maneuver, the turning maneuver. Well, that's not the case. It's actually quite the opposite. It was a very graceful, and it looked professional maneuver. It looked like a professional maneuver. It looked like somebody professional at the wheel. I mean, well within the envelope of the aircraft. However, when the aircraft descended and rolled out of its turn to get on that straight leg to the Pentagon,
right?
That maneuver itself, just by, and Dan knows, when you look at just the yoke movement, you can tell somebody who's ever at those controls is a professional and knows how to fly this aircraft. Now,
very much so.
Yeah.
Tight pants points hollering out. Somewhere up high